Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Global Scan, a show that gives you a 360-degree view of major global developments. On the show today, Turkey agrees to a ceasefire in northern Syria to let Kurdish-led forces withdraw. The deal comes after US Vice President Mike Pence and Turkey's President Erdogan met for talks in Ankara. Chaotic scenes erupted in Hong Kong's parliament, with lawmakers dragged out by security guards for heckling leader Carrie Lam as they demanded an inquiry into a brutal attack on a prominent human rights activist. Indian-American Abhijit Banerjee, Esther Duflo and Michael Kremer jointly win the 2019 Nobel Prize for Economics, and our special focus, Cinema Scan, where we bring you all the buzz from global cinema. All that and more in Global Scan. I'm Anand Bhattacharya. First up, the headlines. Pakistan escapes blacklist of the global terror watchdog Financial Action Task Force for now, but has been severely indicted for failing to deliver on most of its 27 targets and not putting a stop to terror financing. FATF gives Pakistan time till February 2020 to put its house in order or face blacklisting. European Union leaders unanimously back a new Brexit deal with Britain. Prime Minister Boris Johnson faces another battle to secure UK Parliament's backing for the agreement if he is to take Britain out of Europe on the 31st of October. Turkey agrees to pause its offensive in Syria for 5 days to let Kurdish forces withdraw from a safe zone. Trump hails a ceasefire and safe zone on a Turkey-Syria border as great day for civilization. Mexico convulsed by second mass shooting in 2 days. A gunfight between security forces and armed civilians in Mexico's southwestern state of Guerrero claims 15 lives. And Margaret Atwood and Bernardine Evaristo win the 2019 Booker Prize, while Indian-American Abhijit Banerjee along with Esther Duflo and Michael Kremer win 2019 Nobel Economics Prize. Let's get started with the Financial Action Task Force in Paris and Pakistan's fate following this. The Financial Action Task Force on Friday warned Pakistan to swiftly complete its full action plan by February 2020 or face blacklisting in the next plenary session. There was consensus on retaining Pakistan in grey list based on its poor performance on 27-point action plan, the FATF said. The FATF noted that Pakistan addressed only 5 out of the 27 tasks given to it in controlling funding to terror groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, responsible for series of attacks in India. It was unanimously decided to express serious concern with overall lack of progress in addressing its transnational terror financing risks. Let's understand in detail what FATF is, the various lists of FATF and what the action already taken has meant for Pakistan. So this is the Financial Action Task Force, an intergovernmental body established in 1989. So since 1989, it's been operational. Standards to combat money laundering and terror financing is what the Financial Action Task Force has been setting since then. Prominent role after 9/11, so it came into prominence particularly after the 9/11 terror attacks. Recommendations were first issued in 1990, so that was when the first set of recommendations were issued by the FATF. And since then, many more recommendations have been issued. It also monitors members on implementing standards, so it not just sets standards, but also monitors the implementation by various member states. Peer reviews or mutual evaluations of member countries, that's how it does the monitoring exercise. And besides that, 39 members are there of the FATF. Which are those 39 members? There are 37 jurisdictions and 2 regional organizations that form the membership of the Financial Action Task Force. What is the FATF blacklist? Well, in 2000, FATF issued list of non-cooperative countries or terrorists. That is the other name for the blacklist. And what happened after that? Iran and North Korea are already on the FATF blacklist, and Pakistan faces the threat of being blacklisted by the FATF, and now it's been grey-listed once again. This is the FATF grey list where Pakistan is. It's a warning to a country prior to blacklisting. So this is a warning prior to blacklisting by the FATF of a country. Economic sanctions from international institutions and countries is what this brings along, and this is what Pakistan is facing currently. There's a problem in getting loans from monetary bodies, various international financial institutions like the IMF, and this is the hard reality facing Pakistan today. Overall reduction in international trade. So international trade of the country that is grey listed reduces as a result of grey listing, and Pakistan is, as we know, in the grey list. And there is also an international boycott. We've increasingly seen how Pakistan has been boycotted internationally. So how has Pakistan been treated by the FATF? Let's take a look at that. In June 2018, Pakistan was placed on the grey list for the first time, and it continues to be on the grey list since then. Pakistan's anti-terror laws are not compatible with FATF standards, and that is why Pakistan was first put on the grey list in June 2018. Pakistan detained Azhar and Hafiz Saeed for apprehension of breach of peace, a milder accusation, a milder charge against the two terrorists, and not a stronger accusation or charge that would have come under the Anti-Terrorist Act 1997. So terrorists were not held in Pakistan under this particular act, Anti-Terrorist Act 1997, but under a milder legislation. Besides that, terrorists held under the Maintenance of Public Order Act. So this was the law under which the two terrorists that we named, Hafiz Saeed as well as Maulana Masood Azhar, were held. Well, besides that, the detainee can't be held beyond 60 days under the Maintenance of Public Order Act. So the detainees thus get away comparatively if you compare the treatment that they would have been subjected to under the Anti-Terrorism Act. What Pakistan has not done is that Pakistan has not frozen foreign funds, it has not denied weapons access, and it has not issued a travel ban either, which it should have under the FATF standards. In August 2019, APG, which is the Asia Pacific Group, which is a subgroup of the Financial Action Task Force, put Pakistan on enhanced and expedited follow-up process, which is the other name for the blacklist. So APG had blacklisted Pakistan in August 2019, but not FATF as the whole organization. APG found Pakistan non-compliant on 30 of 40 parameters. So only on 10 parameters was Pakistan compliant. On 30 out of 40 parameters, Pakistan was not compliant as per the report of the Asia Pacific Group, subgroup of the FATF. APG found Pakistan low on 10 of 11 effectiveness parameters. So it actually met the standards only on one effectiveness parameter. It was low on 10 out of 11 effectiveness parameters. So that was the kind of decision that the FATF has taken. Let's now move on to the other developing story. Britain has secured a Brexit deal with the European Union more than 3 years after Britain's voted to leave the bloc. Let's see what the deal is. So here we are talking about the deal that has been reached between the UK and the EU. Here's what the deal is all about. The deal is nearly the same as the one that was agreed by Theresa May, the former Prime Minister of UK, last year. We'll also tell you what has changed. Main change is in Northern Ireland proposals. So the most contentious proposals have seen some change. UK to abide by EU rules until 2020 or even later to allow businesses to adjust. So this is what the deal is all about. There's more to the deal as well. UK has now to pay an estimated divorce bill of £39 billion to the European Union under the deal that has been agreed between the UK and the EU. Also, rights of EU citizens living in the UK and vice versa, that is rights of UK citizens living in the EU too, will be guaranteed. So those are the main aspects of the deal that has been reached between the EU and the UK as of now. Turkey has agreed to a ceasefire in northern Syria to let Kurdish-led forces withdraw. The deal came after US Vice President Mike Pence and Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan met for talks in Ankara. Explaining the ceasefire agreed between the two sides, Mike Pence said fighting will be paused for 5 days and the US will help facilitate the withdrawal of Kurdish-led troops from what Turkey terms a safe zone on the border. Here's what happened before the deal was struck.
No respite from the offensive in Syria. Heavy fighting continues despite mounting international pressure and US sanctions. Turkey presses on with its military operation against Kurdish fighters in northeast Syria. Turkey says it will retaliate against US sanctions over Ankara's military operation into northeast Syria.
As our Foreign Minister said, these kind of sanctions will be retaliated to in kind. Our Foreign Ministry is making preparations on this matter. They're working on it at the moment. Turkey will not leave this unreciprocated.
The Syrian army entered the town of Manbij in northern Syria, taking advantage of an abrupt US retreat from Syria after the Turkish incursion, deploying deep inside Kurdish-held territory south of the Turkish frontier. Located in the middle of the northern belt of Syria, Manbij has been a target for most players in Syria's conflict due to the supply lines that run through it. It has frequently changed hands during the course of the war. After being seized by anti-Assad rebels in 2012, the city was captured by the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL or ISIS, in 2014, who then in turn lost it to the SDF 3 years ago. A local economic hub, Manbij is situated adjacent to the M4 highway, a major commercial route that connects the western port city of Latakia to Aleppo, Raqqa and oil-rich Deir az-Zor in the east. For al-Assad, controlling the highway could help rebuild the country's war-ravaged economy. Meanwhile, Turkish President Erdogan said Turkey's offensive into northeast Syria will end if Kurdish fighters in the region drop their weapons and withdraw from a planned safe zone. President Tayyip Erdogan has also accepted an invitation to hold talks with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin over Ankara's military offensive in northeast Syria. The meeting between the two leaders will take place at the Black Sea resort of Sochi on October 22nd. All eyes are now on Turkey's military operation. Who will blink and when remains to be seen. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
Pro-democracy lawmakers were dragged out of Hong Kong's legislature by security guards on Thursday after they heckled Chief Executive Carrie Lam for a second day running, the latest outburst of political rancor in the strife-torn city. Carrie Lam has faced an outpouring of anger from her opponents since the legislature opened its doors for a new session on Wednesday.
Hong Kong's parliament descended into chaos on Thursday. The lawmakers were dragged out by security guards for heckling leader Carrie Lam as they demanded an inquiry into a brutal attack on a prominent human rights activist ahead of a major rally. Hong Kong's Civil Human Rights Front leader was attacked with hammers and knives on Wednesday night. The attack in Mong Kok was the second such attack on Jimmy Sham, head of the Civil Human Rights Front, since protests escalated. It was the second day of turmoil in the Legislative Council. It was suspended amid chaos over protests. Lam was forced to cut short her annual policy speech on Wednesday due to heckling and broadcast it via video. In a televised policy address, she said moves to threaten the one country, two systems framework will not be tolerated.
發生咗超過400場嘅示威、遊行同埋集會。
I will adhere to the following principles, be it in handling the current major crisis or continuing to discharge our governance responsibilities. First, we will adhere to one country, two systems and safeguard the rights and freedoms protected by the basic law. However, any act that advocates Hong Kong's independence and threatens the country's sovereignty, security and development interests will not be tolerated.
第一，堅守一國兩制。
Meanwhile, the US House of Representatives unanimously passed 3 pieces of legislation supporting the pro-democracy protests that have engulfed Hong Kong for more than 4 months. The Protect Hong Kong Act, also passed on Tuesday, seeks to block the sale to Hong Kong of tear gas and other crowd control items, while a non-binding resolution condemns Beijing's interference in Hong Kong's affairs.
Faced a barrage of unjust and harsh restrictions on their freedoms, and those who have stood up for their rights have been met with a cruel crackdown. In Congress, Democrats and Republicans in the House and in the Senate stand united with the people of Hong Kong. If America does not speak out for human rights in China because of commercial interest, then we lose all moral authority to speak out for human rights any place in the world.
China has warned of countermeasures. The turmoil in the legislature underscores the deepening political rift, with no end in sight to the violent anti-government protests. Global Scan Desk, DD India.
A gunfight between security forces and armed civilians in Mexico's southwestern state of Guerrero killed 15 people on Tuesday, the second mass killing to shake the country in 2 days, the authorities have said. A Guerrero State Public Security spokesman said 14 civilians and 1 soldier died in the shootout in the municipality of Tepo Chica near Iguala. defending his security strategy after suspected cartel gunmen killed 13 policemen a day earlier in the neighboring western state of Michoacán. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador blamed past administrations for Mexico's chronic violence. Guerrero and Michoacán are two of Mexico's most violent and lawless states, where rival drug gangs have battled to control smuggling routes to the Pacific and the interior of the country. After a series of protests rocking Ecuador, President Lenin Moreno officially scrapped an IMF-backed decree that slashed fuel subsidies, a key demand of the protesters, hence putting an end to nearly 2 weeks of agitation. Moreno added that a new decree would be issued to ensure that resources go to those who most need it, but did not specify when. In a national address on Monday, President Moreno claimed that calm has returned to the country.
Calm has returned quickly to the country. It's been a difficult few days, but we are going to get over it together and decisively. I have signed the repeal of Decree 883, and we are ready to keep up the debate on a new, better decree as we have promised. Dialogue continues with all sectors who have goodwill.
Indigenous protesters who had streamed into Quito from Andean and Amazonian provinces to demand Moreno reinstate the fuel subsidies piled into buses that departed the city. The protests had grown increasingly chaotic in recent days after President Lenin Moreno decided to end the decades-old fuel subsidy, which had resulted in a spike in fuel prices. The president had said that the measure was necessary to reduce the country's fiscal deficit after he signed a multi-billion-dollar loan deal with the International Monetary Fund. The death toll in the worst typhoon to hit Japan for decades has risen. Rescuers are slogging through mud and debris in an increasingly grim search for the missing, and thousands of homes have remained without power or water. The parade to celebrate Japanese Emperor Naruhito's formal enthronement will be postponed to the 10th of November as the government copes with the aftermath of Typhoon Hagibis. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited communities on Thursday that were hit by a powerful typhoon. Emperor Naruhito is set to proclaim his enthronement to the world on 22nd October in a centuries-old ceremony attended by some 2,500 people, including heads of state and other dignitaries from nearly 200 countries. Lower House of French Parliament on Tuesday passed the first reading of a bill that would legalize medically assisted procreation, popularly known as IVF, for single women and lesbian couples in the country. The bioethics bill was passed in the lower house with 359 lawmakers in favor, while 114 against. Until now, female homosexual couples and single women in France wishing to bear children have to seek procedures abroad, most commonly in Belgium and Spain, forcing them to spend thousands of euros to take a leave of absence and to see a new set of doctors. While the bill drew a lot of opposition from the Conservatives, lawmakers who say it would bring chaos to society, many are backing the bill.
This bill would essentially leave a mark, one that extends access to medically assisted procreation to female homosexual couples and to single women. This measure that has been presented in the program of the President Emmanuel Macron has long been awaited.
Despite being passed in the lower house, the bill has divided opinions among the French public, with thousands taking to the streets of France last week. The bill will be moved to the Senate in January and then to France's Legal Commission before a second and definitive vote in Parliament. Margaret Atwood's The Testaments and Bernardine Evaristo's Girl, Woman, Other jointly won the Booker Prize on Monday in a surprise double award in which the literary prize recognized its oldest and first black woman winners. The judging panel said the authors will split the £50,000 annual prize. The award honors the best novel of the year written in English and published in the UK and Ireland. 79-year-old Atwood previously won the prize in 2000 for The Blind Assassin, and The Testaments, published last month, is the sequel to the Canadian author's best-selling 1985 novel The Handmaid's Tale. Evaristo, the first black woman to win the prize, tells the stories of 12 characters, mainly female and black, aged 19 to 93, living in Britain in Girl, Woman, Other.
This is incredible. It is so incredible to share this with Margaret Atwood, who is such a legend and so generous. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is incredible. I suppose a lot of people say this. I never thought it would happen to me, and I will say that I am the first black woman to win this prize.
Well, the prize has been jointly awarded twice previously. The rules changed in 1993, limiting the award to one author. The judges defied those rules, saying they could not agree on a winner between the two books, which were on a short list of 6. Indian-American Abhijit Banerjee, Esther Duflo and Michael Kremer jointly won the 2019 Nobel Prize for Economics for their experimental approach to alleviating global poverty. French-American Duflo becomes only the second woman to win the Economics Prize in its 50-year history, as well as the youngest at 46. She shared the award equally with Indian-born American Banerjee and Kremer, also of the United States. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences said their work had shown how poverty could be addressed by breaking it down into smaller and more precise questions in areas such as education and healthcare, and then testing solutions in the field. Indian politicians and academics cheered the Nobel Economics Prize awarded to Abhijit Banerjee. Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted saying, "Congratulations to Abhijit Banerjee on being conferred the 2019 Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel. He has made notable contributions in the field of poverty alleviation. I also congratulate Esther Duflo and Michael Kremer for winning the prestigious Nobel." And now a special focus, Cinema Scan, where we bring you all the buzz from global cinema. The world is saluting woman power, and so is Hollywood. Elle Awards on Monday honored female actors, directors and producers at its annual Women in Hollywood event in California's Beverly Hills. Actors Natalie Portman, Zendaya, Scarlett Johansson, Mindy Kaling, Gwyneth Paltrow and filmmakers Lena Waithe and Milena Matsukas were celebrated at the star-studded ceremony. While Nicole Kidman appreciated the idea of celebrating each other's work, for Scarlett Johansson, it's all about lifting each other up.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's nice to be included, you know, and these women are all, I know them for a long time, a lot of them, but it's also just lovely to be able to come and celebrate other women and what they're doing and hear their stories.
I think what's so touching about this ceremony is that it's women honoring other women. Just to me, that really hit home. You know, I feel like it's our responsibility to lift each other up.
Filmmaker Lena Waithe was also awarded at the ceremony. She said that she enjoys being in the business.
It's not always easy, but it's a gift. I enjoy being a woman. I enjoy being in this business, and I'm going to continue to shine my light and say what I got to say.
5 years after the first live-action Disney film Maleficent hit the big screen, the sequel Maleficent, Mistress of Evil ramps up the engaging narrative, special effects and female power of the original. Although the original had one powerful female character in Maleficent, the sequel offers 3 female roles who are each in their own way battling for power, leaving their male co-stars for once out of the spotlight. The sequel continues the message of the original, not to judge a book by its cover and not to polarize people with labels. The mystical roller coaster hit the big screen on Friday. There were no capes and no battles between good and evil in the new Joker movie. Its portrayal of the most loved villain in comic book history is the chilling twist on the character in 50 years. Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix and opening in movie theaters worldwide after winning the top prize at Venice Film Festival last month, is the first film where Joker is the lead character but there is no Batman. Set in 1980s in New York, the Warner Brothers film is a story that depicts a man who becomes Batman's arch nemesis as an isolated, bullied, mentally ill loser who unwittingly inspires a populist rebellion manned by other outcasts adopting red noses and clown masks. Been in theatres for just 2 weeks, Joker has already become the biggest October opening of all time, beating out all the previous records. That's it then in this edition of Global Scan. Thanks for watching.